All right, now here's the second Equalizer movie. I gotta be honest with you. I think this one was actually a little bit better than even the first film. The first film, I think I gave it an 8.5 or 9. This one, I would have to give between a 9, 9.5. And I think, in my opinion, the third act is really what did it for me. So that was the epic fight between Robert McCall and Dave York, obviously played by Denzel and Pedro Pascal, respectively. The movie had a good cast to it. You had those two. Dave York was obviously the main antagonist in the film. You also have the late Orson Bean, who played Sam Rubenstein. Bill Pullman played Brian Plummer. Let's see. Susan Plummer was played by Melissa Leo, and Ashton Sanders played Miles Whitaker. Now, here's the breakdown of it. So, what is the story? According to Common Sense Media, which by the way gave it a 60%, way lower than it should have been, than what they should give it. But hey, to each his own. In this film, a former secret agent Robert McCall takes a quick jaunt to Turkey to retrieve a kidnapped girl. Then he returns to his life in Boston. Presumed dead, he lives quietly, reading and driving for Lyft. McCall befriends a teen neighbor by the name of Miles, who dreams of being an artist. When their courtyard is covered in graffiti, McCall encourages Miles to repaint it. Meanwhile, McCall's former colleague, Susan Plummer, visits him on his late wife's birthday before she heads to Brussels to investigate a supposed murder suicide. Later, she's attacked in her hotel room, and McCall gets word that she's dead. He reveals himself to Susan's partner, Dave York, and starts investigating her death. Unfortunately, this brings him to the attention of a group of killers. Worse, the killers decide to use Miles as bait to catch McCall. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm leaning towards a 9.5 on this one. At the very least, it's got to be like a 9.3, 9.4, if I'm being honest with you. Uh, is it any good? This sequel to The Equalizer itself, based on the 1980s TV series, is more of the same with too familiar screenwriting, a compelling lead character, and inventive action scenes. Director Antoine Fuqua, screenwriter Richard Wink, and star Denzel reunite for Equalizer 2 as if they'd never left, slipping back into their well-worn roles with expert ease. Wink cooks up a nifty James Bond-like unrelated incident opening just to show that McCall's skills are still sharp and he still uses his stopwatch like a boss. There's also an easily identifiable surprise villain and a very basic good versus evil, honor versus betrayal plot. Denzel finds McCall's sympathetic center, spending time listening to and observing his Lyft customers, quietly moved by their small joys and sorrows. But the real reason to watch is Fuka's expertly staged action sequences, including the opening scene on a train in Istanbul, a tense home invasion sequence in which Miles hides inside McCall's secret room, and especially the storm swept showdown. That was the I mean, this goes without saying, the very best part of that film. And that alone pushed it a little bit past the first one, in my opinion. McCall meets the bad guys in his seaside hometown where the wind is so strong, the soundtrack echoes with the groans of structures being tested on their foundations and the spatter of rain. This film is ultimately as weightless as any of a dozen action thrillers made in the 1980s, but it's also enjoyably diverting. Now, the budget on the film was 79 million. The box office was just over 190 million. I mean, honestly, come on, for a movie like this, I mean, they should have gotten close to 300 million with this one. I mean, again, I saw the third movie in theaters, but I wasn't interested in this stuff at the time they came out. If they replayed the first two movies in theaters, I would go see them. And honestly, I can say that about almost any movie that I really, really like. And I just kick myself for not having seen these movies sooner. Now, I did say this in my last video. I actually did watch this before, but I had to rewatch it to kind of refresh my memory. And that's kind of what I'm doing with a lot of movies right now, especially a lot of the action thrillers. So I just think that this is one of those films where, listen, if I already know that if you're a Denzel fan slash action thriller fan, there's probably a good 80 to 90% chance you've already seen this. But to those of you who might be watching this, in case you didn't see it, I suggest watching it because this movie is available to watch on Paramount Plus, Sling TV, and Pluto. It's free on Sling and it's also free on Pluto. I suggest signing up for the Paramount Plus and using the 1 week free trial. Watch that movie. They just put it on there. So a lot of twists and turns here. The violence was definitely increased in this film over the first film by a little bit. And this is the type of movie that just keeps you at the edge of your seat. And you're just wondering, like, you're just thrilled by it and just so amazed by it. So I do consider this, in my opinion, one of the greatest action films I've seen. The franchise overall, I would put it in my, I don't know about top five, but top 10 as of right now. There's a whole bunch of others I got to catch up on. And is it going to change on the charts? I don't know. But again, props to Denzel, props to the rest of the cast for and everybody else for putting this movie together and doing what you did. So, Wild Ride, overall, I'd say I give the movie about a 9.3 out of 10. So, and this is a film I would definitely watch again. So, this is a rewatchable film, in my opinion. So, I have a lot more movies and shows to cover. Subscribe to my YouTube and follow the other links in my About section. Comment below, tell me what you thought about the movie, and give me suggestions for other movies that you think I should cover. Stay tuned.